We are talking today with Raghu, the legendary photographer. This is not a grilling interview, it is more of a conversation because Raghu is not a politician or a journalist who needs to be trapped. But then again, I may trap you, who knows. Raghu, we met, I don't know if you remember, I met you first when I was 16 years old.
Yeah, at the Statesman.
Yeah. I showed up over there. I just left school, graduated from school, and I showed up.
To take pictures.
And I said I want to become a photographer. और तूने मुझे बिल्कुल भगा दिया कि बच्ची है, जा तस्वीरें ले अपने आप. And I said no, I want to follow you around. You said नहीं, तू जा अपने आप तस्वीरें ले.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. So you were already the prima donna before you had become big, है ना?
कई पैदा ही ऐसे होते हैं. Some are born like that.
Yeah, you were born like that.
Stupid.
But as I recall, at that age, at the age of 16, I was looking at your pictures, which were, to my mind, revolutionary. Because before that, Indian photography in India, had been more of the formal kind. Posed photographs of politicians, setups, very rarely.
Static.
Yes, very rarely did we get the essence of India. And in those days, in the 60s, the poverty in India was extreme, as you know. And I think you were the one who brought that home to us of what was happening around the country. You were the first photographer who actually went into Rajasthan, into Bihar, UP, Punjab, and you exposed that world to people who were completely unaware of the kind of extreme situations and the huge inequalities that we lived with a stone on our hearts. Really, that time was extreme. Today's young people do not realize how extreme the inequalities were. First of all, what drove you to that vision? What instigated you in the beginning?
You see, before I joined the Statesman, that first year and a half or whatever, when I used to roam around in the streets of Delhi as a photographer, I got connected to the ordinariness of daily life, which I thought was somewhere so essential for all of us कि हमें भी घर में ordinary ज़िंदगी जीनी पड़ती है यार. There are moments of excitement and revelation. By and large, we all live that kind of ordinary daily life, and bulk of India represents that. So when you start working with a newspaper or a magazine, each time you are dealing with, people and places where so much drama, so much of action is happening politically, socially. So everything is an exaggerated version of daily life. And what was great about Satyajit Ray's movies was precisely this, that you look at today's filmmakers, it's a sequence of melodramatic, moments, one after another. But in Ray's movies, his moments will come from ordinary thread of ordinary daily life. There were moments of revelation and understanding and sensitivity and tenderness. So that part is so essential to a creative person, to stay grounded with that kind of sensitivity and tenderness.
I remember Shekhar Gupta wrote somewhere that when a new reporter had joined and he was going to go with you, and Shekhar warned him that watch out for when you pass buffaloes, because Raghu is going to stop for an hour and shoot buffaloes.
Not buffaloes, but animals are part of our daily life. And they make our life so interesting and sometimes chaotic.
So when you started off, you were open to whatever daily life brought you?
Absolutely, and more open to all those energies now than ever before.
In what way?
In every way. Oh, you see, for me, today, luckily, I'm in a position that I don't have to follow the dictates of anybody's editorial needs. So when I go shooting in the streets or anywhere, I just carry my camera, my heart and soul. I make it available to situations and they tell me what to do.
Now you've seen all the prime ministers. You did a book on Indira Gandhi.
Not one, but 3 books.
3 books.
One after another.
The one which you did, which is the most memorable to me, is A Life in the Day of Indira Gandhi. What was she like? Did she expect the kind of sycophancy you see today?
No, those were the formative years of sycophants, and the kind of class that was emerging. I remember after Congress split, when Mrs. Gandhi held her first Congress session, and there was Ambika Soni, the young Congress worker, and with her women brigade, she went on shouting slogans, Indira ji, Jug Jug Jio, Indira ji, Jug Jug Jio. And I got so excited and upset. I said, "Aap kitni baar bolengi ye baat?" Huh?
But it got her where she is today because it works.
Acha. But when you look back and you look at today, what is going on?
The same,
worse. This is nothing. But they were just appreciating because the courage she showed, and Indira ji Jug Jug Jio
was planted then, because then
was
Indira
absolutely
Gandhi always gave precedence to loyalty over merit.
You know why? Because I think, when the split happened and there were 2 groups, the other group was also pretty strong,
Yes,
senior politicians. Yes. And this sense of insecurity in these politicians. And this is what has gone on, that especially after Sanjay Gandhi's death. Actually, Sanjay Gandhi, during emergency, he decided that they are going to declare emergency with the help of other 4, whether it was Bansi Lal and Siddharth Shankar, whosoever. And suddenly, Indira Gandhi found a man in her family who could support her and give her certain kind of protection. And when Sanjay passed away, Mrs. Gandhi was the most devastated, insecure person. And then the politics of insecurity began. And imagine, if your rulers are insecure, how can they give you any sense of security? And the quality of insecurity and degradation has gone on to any extent now. And why everybody today in every political party sticks to one leader? Because A, they don't have that contact with the people, with the ordinary daily lives and their problems, and they don't have any mass base. So one leader, they think, even for instance, in Aam Aadmi's party, why just Kejriwal? I think, Yogendra Yadav is far more, sensitive and strong individual. But everybody talks about Kejriwal. And in case of Modi, I mean, it's Modi and Narendra Modi. My God, others are lesser human beings. They don't have any of their own strength and connection where they can make a difference to their own life or to the life of the country. So it's one man, like Manmohan Singh, then comes Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, and they run the whole country.
But do you think because Sonia Gandhi followed that insecurity blueprint that encouraged this kind of sycophancy? Because one, if you grow up in this...
No, I won't say that. I'll look at it differently.
Okay.
Sonia Gandhi was the person who didn't want to come into politics. And she resisted it and resisted it. And all these congressmen, the way they started going and touching her feet, and that sycophancy of another kind began. She didn't come from the only insecurity she had because she had lost her mother-in-law, she had lost her husband. That was of course there. But then she said no. And when everybody, every congressman, senior or junior, comes and starts touching your feet, suddenly you feel, hey man, wait a minute.
But there's also this thing of the need to carry on the family legacy. That is a huge motivator on
No,
her part.
again, I'll differ. Initially, no, it wasn't like that. She didn't want it. She didn't want to go ahead with it. But
That
once,
was a very short period, Raghu.
whatever period,
Very tiny period.
No, let's
I think
be very
the realization
no, you
of
see, we
the
cannot,
necessity to carry on the political legacy.
but we cannot bulldoze, those moments
All right.
of her resistance, and which was very clear. And I have seen those moments and experienced them when she didn't want to be touched by these guys.
Tell me,
in
during
politics.
the emergency, did you have any restrictions in taking pictures? Did you experience any kind of, because as you know, we started India Today at that time, and I had to submit each issue of India Today to be stamped by this man called Depenna, the head of the censor board, and each page had to be stamped with an OK. Otherwise, so I mean, it's extraordinary to think about it happening in India, but it did happen.
Well, during the emergency, I was with the Statesman newspaper. And I must say, every journalist was scared. I mean, some showed some courage, but I won't say that there were people ready to go to jails, just like that as a freedom, part of their freedom, struggle against, like they had against British. But I remember taking pictures of situations where you could, because emergency physically was not present in daily life situations that I could photograph. And Indira
It
Gandhi,
was too subtle. It was a subterranean thing that was happening
absolutely.
underground.
And I remember once, the second day or third day, I went to Chandni Chowk and I saw several policemen walking around between the people. So I took a picture which we printed, long spread, and we said, life normal in Chandni Chowk, but only policemen everywhere.
That's subtle.
Yeah, and that's the only picture we could.
Were you able to photograph when they, the Jama Masjid area, when they were taking down the bastis?
No. And then that day onwards, they made sure that any photograph, any article goes to print, has to be censored by them. And then we didn't print any photographs and left the white space in the paper without saying anything.
In the Statesman.
In the Statesman, so that people know that this space, this photograph has been censored. But it was not very obvious for a photographer that one could photograph immense expression of emergency and lack of freedom. It wasn't possible.
But it was mainly in Delhi. It didn't affect the rest of the country at
Not
all.
at all.
People in Bombay didn't even feel any effect of it, whereas in Delhi we couldn't speak
But
freely in
the
homes.
unfortunate part is that few services and few things started running very well for the
buses on time, people were going to the offices
on time,
trains were on
and
time.
I wish they had learnt a lesson from that. Even in Commonwealth Games, for those 20 days or whatever, no terror attack took place because every police force was on alert. No traffic jams happened. No, nothing. For Delhi was unbelievable
Kiran
city.
Bedi was running she was chief of traffic at
So
that time.
what I'm trying to say is, if these guys want, they could have made a difference at any given time.
But corruption caught
But
up.
corruption and chaos, and when there's more chaos, there can be more corruption also.
Now there's some moments in your career that I've been witness to. One was a time in India Today when a photographer had gone to Sri Lanka and had gone undercover with the LTT. And when he came back, I know there was a crisis in the office and there was a lot of screaming and shouting going on, because the army had gotten in touch with the photographer and they wanted to be debriefed. They wanted to debrief him. And he had been taken there on the account that everything would be kept secret. And that was the agreement with the LTT. So I know there was one very senior editor who insisted that the photographer go and meet the army and give all the information. And you were taking the stand that he should not, because one, it's a risk to his life, and two, the work is what counts, and not being part of the army or the government. Now, have you had other situations like this where a moral dilemma takes place, that am I a patriot or am I supposed to give government information, or and I know you stood up for that photographer at that time.
You see, during the Saddam Hussein, kaun sa country tha? Iraq war. The great people of America who talk about freedom of expression and human rights and blah blah, their reporting, including BBC, CNN, I'm sure you've noticed, you must have noticed. Completely controlled. Even our Doordarshan was giving better coverage of Iraq
In fact, war. I was watching Doordarshan
and
to
our
get the real
Indian
news.
channels were doing much better.
Yes.
The question you asked is very important. I think, well, today is a global world, India is part of that. And in creativity, there are no boundaries set. But above all, I think it's as an individual, as a human being, as a responsible, sensitive human being, first thing that is most precious, that should be precious to any one of us, is the instinctive truth that we've experienced, has to be portrayed and shared with the same simplicity and honesty. Then comes your country, then comes your paper, then comes your army. This is the way I put it. After Operation Blue Star.
I was going to come to that.
Yeah.
Now, there was, before you finish that, I'll put in my question so you can put your answer with it. There was also this big crisis in India today.
Yeah.
When you photographed this exodus of people leaving Punjab. And Arun said, no, you will create panic, it is unpatriotic, you can't do it. And he wanted to suppress the pictures. Now finish your answer.
That was a small point, The bigger point was, we were there during the Operation Blue Star. And I met Bindranwale the day before inside Akal Takht, because I was going there on behalf of India Today on regular basis. So I had great equation, and I used to call him Paji, means elder brother. And some of his men came to my hotel one night and said, you cannot call him Paji, he's not your brother, he's Santji. So I said, this is between him and me, why are you bothered about it? Anyway.
So he had sycophants too?
Of course. So, Operation Blue Star took place, they locked us up, they didn't allow any press people, they didn't even let us know what was going on, and by the time it was over, nobody was allowed to go inside the Golden Temple complex. So after a few weeks, I think, when they did the major repairs from outside of it, they allowed the ordinary public to go in. And nobody was allowed to take cameras. So I went to Amritsar, and I went in without the camera. I saw what was going on. There were army men, at the gates, and posted at other positions also. So, and I discovered that if anybody was carrying any jhula or anything, with them, they will search it and then allow you to go in. So what I did was I borrowed, auto exposure camera, small camera, which amateurs use. I loaded a film in it, and I bought whole lot of garlands and wrapped around this camera and put it in a jhula. So I walked in, and they said, "ये क्या है?" मैंने कहा, हार हैं, फूल हैं. So उन्होंने यूं हाथ डाले, ऐसा किया. उन्होंने कहा, हाँ जाइए. I had taken two guys with me. So one was standing to my left, the other to my right, and I'll see a situation, but the Akal Takht was so badly damaged. So I took those pictures.
But I remember your pictures with bullet holes.
Yeah, bullet holes. And even on this the sides, you know, parikrama, even the rooms had those signs of bullets. So we came back and we published about, I think, 8-10 page feature in India Today, and then there were calls from army, who has given his permission and blah. But these things go on, and this is your responsibility to respond right now, as you see it, the way it has happened.
So what was, I don't remember what happened to what was the conclusion? Did you then publish the Exodus pictures from Punjab?
Also,
you did.
And these pictures also, we did publish.
So the Exodus ones were published?
Yeah.
And did it create a panic?
No, not really.
There was a panic already, that's why people were leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a war zone at that time. That's why people were leaving.
Yeah.
It was...
No, but that happened for first 2 days, you know. After that, you know, if you publish, you know, after 5 days or 7 days, it didn't matter to people. It was, the initial madness was over.
And the 71 war, were you able to shoot anything there?
Yeah, of course, you know, I went with the Mukti Bahini also, before the actual war was announced. And I remember, you know, once one of the rival papers in Calcutta, they knew that I was going into East Pakistan at that time. So they rang up the Mukti Bahini people saying that this man is a Punjabi, and Punjabi, when you say Punjabi, for East Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, it meant Pakistan Army from Punjab.
Oh.
So they said, you know, this man is a Punjabi, you ask him. So they asked me, where are you from? I said, I'm from Delhi. Aren't you a Punjabi? I said, yes, I'm a Punjabi. They said, get out of here. So I was chased out, and 20, 30, 50 people chasing me, Punjabi hai sala, Punjabi hai sala. मैंने कहा यार war में जाके bullet खा के मर जाओ तो ठीक है, यहाँ if they kill you, you are gone for nothing. So all these things happened, but then I went with the army also. And I was with the first column that attacks the enemy. And we were surrounded by firing from all sides, you know, because they were retreating and we were moving forward, and they knew the positions from where we were coming in, you know. So there was a moment when the captain who was conducting me, he says, Raghu, now it's a matter of life and death, what do we do? I said, you tell me. He says, are you getting any great pictures? I said, no. So he says, let's run. Then we ran and ran for 1.5 kilometers from the front. And then we landed in a chai shop. And we thought, wow, it's nice. Now we'll have a cup of tea and relax. And I was, you know, it was cloudy weather, very nice weather. I was taking a walk and suddenly a bullet goes zoom, another bullet goes zoom, and captain says, flat on the ground. And then the chai wala tells us, Sahab, wo jo railway track hai, across that track is Pakistan Army sitting there.